Okay, so outline 2 financial pressures associated with beef. So we talked about this in class. Obviously, to raise your cattle is going to cost you quite a bit of money. So they need 15,000 litres of water. This is just 1 kilogram of beef, 6.5 kilos of crop, 330 square meters of ground, and that's 16.4 kilos of carbon dioxide. Okay, so these terms and numbers are a bit, it's hard for us to comprehend them, but when we think about it, you need to feed them, you need to water them, and you need to house them. That's going to cost you money. So that's fairly straightforward. Other costs associated with producing beef. This vet is smiling because she is loaded because, our animals keep getting sick, so they have tons of money. You need to think about the veterinary bills, antibiotics, drenches, all that stuff. On the top right, you have your transport costs. You can't just order, or you can order a float or a truck, but that's quite expensive. So you're probably going to have to invest in your own, which isn't cheap. And again, when times get tough, or you want to have a grain-fed stock for market specs, for example, you need to then feed them grain, which is going to be more expensive again. So there's a lot of costs associated with raising beef, a lot of financial pressure. Explain how 2 routine management activities that assist in improving quality and quantity of the end beef product. So the quality and the quantity of the end beef product. What can we do to improve these things? Let's do quality first, and it says marbling. So marbling refers to the white flecks and streaks of fat within the lean sections of meat. And marbling is so named because streaks of fat resemble a marble pattern. So you want to have really high quality marbling down here. This quality up here is not going to get you much money. So I've never ever seen this before in real life. So you're probably looking in this range here. But it's called marbling because it looks like a bit of marble. Okay, and if you're a cool kid like me, you may have had marbles, okay, as a child. And there's a genuine GIF of me there watching David Attenborough. So yeah, I digress. So marbling is fat. It is largely determined by the diet of the animal. That makes sense because it's fat, and to a certain degree the breed of cattle. Cattle that are raised on grain will have more marbling than grass-fed beef. And we've already talked about it earlier that raising your cattle on grain is going to be more expensive, but that might pay off if you have a high marbling content. So you could get more money for the beef. Feeding higher energy feeds to your cattle will increase the amount of marbling of the meat, and this can be increased if cattle are fed on this type of diet from a young age. So it's maybe something you want to be considering right at the start when you start raising your cattle. Yield. So I've got a definition of yield. It's the produce or provide a natural agricultural or industrial product. So it's the amount of yield. So if I want to have a high yield of beef, I need to make sure that all the beef I produce meets those market specifications. If I miss those market specifications, I'm going to have a low yield because I'm not going to be able to move it on or sell it. Okay. So how do I increase the yield? Well, one of the ways you can do that is have some absolutely massive beef cattle. And you can do that or increase the chances of your yield by breeding the appropriate animals together to maximize the likelihood of the highest yield of beef. So for example, this little diagram here, you have bull of breed A, cow of breed B, and then you have a crossbred progeny. So 50% A, 50% B. So you may want to do this if you know that you want to produce a certain type of cow or steer that is going to produce the best traits for you to sell to that market. So how can you increase yields? Well, you can have the appropriate breeding. That would be very useful because you're going to increase the chances that your cattle are going to meet those market specs. You're going to be able to sell the majority of your herd and therefore create the most money for yourself. Cool. You may want to pause here. That was a very, very short section, but important.